Hello friends, in today's video I'm going to talk about Django project and application. Well, we know that Django is a backend framework, and in order to work on Django you need to create a project. Now once you have created the project, inside the project you're going to have different apps, like for example as you can see in this particular diagram. So there is a project within which there can be app 1, app 2, app 3 and so on. Now the question is, why do I need these apps, or what these apps are all about? Well, Django tried to maintain a modular structure whereby each app would be dedicated for a specific task to perform. Like for example, there's an app called users, and all the user related authentication, login process, registration will be done by this app. Similarly, there can be an app called products. All kind of product related handling will be taken care by this module. Similarly, I can have an app called cart, where you are going to hold all the shopping cart related activities. And you can also have an app called order, where you perform or you place an order, all those transaction information will be stored in the order app. So from this diagram, one thing becomes very clear, that Django will contain a loosely coupled format, because these apps are independent of each other. Well, data can be transferred among these apps, that is fine, but in order to do any kind of activities in user app, I don't have to touch the cart, or vice versa. Hence, Django maintain a loosely coupled structure so that they are independent of each other. There should not be too much dependency, which is not good for a project. Now the question is, how do I create this app? For that reason, we have a command called python manage.py start app followed by app name. Like you create one app called products, so the command would be python manage.py start app products, and you hit the enter. Once you fire an app, once you fire this particular command, the app gets created. And once the app gets created, there will be a particular directory by the app name. Let's consider you have given the app name as category. Then within this particular directory you are going to have good number of files. Take a note, this is an interview question where the interviewer would ask you, tell me what are the different files that gets created when an app gets generated. So here is a list of these files which are available for any app which you will be creating. And as I said, every app is an independent, same goes, every files has got their dedicated task. So you need to know what is the objective of each of these files. And in today's video, as well as in upcoming videos, I will be going through these files to make you understand that how important a Django app is. So at the initial level, these are the 7 files the Django will provide. Apart from that, you also need to create few more other files for performing your activities. So let's start with the file that will be provided by default in Django apps. So as you can see over here, there is a option called migrations. Well, that's a folder that will hold all the database related files, followed by __init__.py. This particular file will actually responsible for creating this category as a package. In order to access admin panel, we have a file called admin.php. Well, I will show you how to create an admin user so that you can log into admin panel. You have a file called apps.py, and this particular file is responsible for creating this particular app or registering this particular app. Since I said that Django contains multiple apps, you have to register this app inside your settings.py, and while doing that you have to refer this particular file called apps.py. models.py. As we know that Django maintain MVT architecture, model view template. So the model is a particular file in which you are going to define the class, and eventually based on that class the database entity or table will be created. Don't worry, I will show you even that. Then comes view.py. Well, this is a file that actually hold all the business logic in the form of class or in the form of functions. And these class and functions will be responsible for handling HTTP request that is provided by the user, and based on that request the application has to provide the response. Now comes URL.py, which is responsible for performing routing or navigating from one page to another or one function to another. Not only that, Django also provides one more file called test.py, which is responsible for performing unit testing with the help of the class called test case for non-API based functionalities, and in context to API there is a class called API test case where we are going to perform API related testing. So let's first watch these particular files in action, and then later on we will be working on these things in the upcoming videos. So let's move on to the Django application, and here it comes. So I have created one project. I give the project name as second, and inside that project I have created one app called product. As I said, and we saw in the image, that a Django project can contain multiple apps, so you need to register these apps. So the product which I have created by firing this particular command, python manage.py start app product, hence this product got created. But creating the product doesn't mean that this product is registered already inside Django project. It's not like that. You have to do it, and for that reason you need to use this apps.py file. So let's expand the product, and here we have a file called apps.py. If I double click on this, here you get to see the class called product config, and this particular class I have to register inside this settings.py of the project. So my project name is second, so I expand the second folder. Here is a file called settings.py. Let's open this file and let's come to the install app. As you can see over here, the name of the package is called product, which has a module called apps or file, and inside that you have a class called product config. That's what I have written. So this is the way you have to register each app that would be creating. So right now in this particular project I have got only one app, hence I have registered it over here. Had there been multiple apps, I need to register all of them. Now inside this particular project I have used the dependency for REST API. So for that reason I have added this particular package called REST_framework. And in order to work on this, you need to install this particular dependency, that is called pip install Django REST framework. Well, if you're installing third-party app, you need to register them as well. So this is the third-party app which is available on internet, whose dependency you have to install it in your project so that you can work on REST API. Well, in this particular video I will show you what this REST API stands for. Well, basically when you're working on a project, you have got two interfaces. One, a browser view, that means with the help of the browser the user input will be provided, and the output that will be generated by the server will be displayed on the browser itself. That is one approach. While the other approach would be, you can display or you can take the input through mobile or through our application, which is like a hardware, like in the form of IoT. So in that case you need to work on REST API. So the data that would be coming through REST API would be in the form of a JSON, whereas in case of browser the data will come with the browser form. Like in browser you have to create HTML form, so from the form the data will be coming. So two different interfaces for providing data input or data output. So depending upon that you have to implement the dependency. So if your application is going to work on a mobile based system, then you need REST framework, and if it is just going to work on browser, then you don't need this dependency. Okay, so far so good. Now in this particular project I'm going to work also in the database, and currently I'm going to use Postgres. So the Postgres database, I'm going to use this one. So for that reason I have to bring some changes in the database configuration. This entire configuration I have stored inside the environment file, which is right over here .env. Due to privacy I'm unable to open this particular file because inside this I have mentioned the password. Okay, so you have to create a .env file where your password and all other configuration like the name of the database, the user who had logged into the database, the password, the system where the database is located, I mean the host IP address of the database being located, and the port number 5432 is the default port number of PostgreSQL. So I will be using Postgres in order to handle the database, and this configuration will all be registered inside the environment file. And in order to access this environment file, if you scroll down over here, you will find that this is the place where the environment has been, .env file has been accessed, and it would load all the details that is present inside this file right with the help of this function, and then these configuration will be set accordingly. So I have already written the configuration right over here, so when I will run the app, it will try to access this. The first thing what it will do is that it will try to connect to the database that I have mentioned over here. Let me show you that. Okay, so let me come to the terminal, and here I'm going to run my application. And since this configuration is already been set, so by default Django will try to inspect this configuration, and just because in my database I don't have any database by the name called crm_db, it would give you the error, and I want that you find that error. Okay, but before that I would like to tell you one more thing. Since I've created my Django app and I'm using a database table, and for that reason, as I showed in the diagram, there is a file called models.py which holds the database related information. So that I would like to show you before I fire the command. So let's come to the models.py. If I double click on this, here you would find the class which I have written. So I've got a couple of class. One is called category, the other one is called product. I want this category listing should appear in the product table as a drop down, because the product will be registered under particular category. So for that reason I have created this category class, and this category class belongs to the text choice which actually leads to the drop down, and this is coming right from the Django.db import models. So Django.db is the package and model is the module, okay, with the help of which the model is going to work, and this text choice will actually result in a drop down. So let's come to my class called product. So I will be giving a product name which is of type char field. I will be getting a description, and this content is a bit more than the character field. That's the reason it's called text field. I'm going to give a price which is of decimal fraction, so 2 place decimal place will be available over here. I mentioned I'm going for a brand which is basically a string. I'm going for a category, and this is going to come from the category in the form of drop down. See over here the category dot choices, and this data which will be provided over here will be coming from this table. So that's the reason the category is mentioned over here. Well, how much stock do I have, which is of type integer, and there is one more table called user that is coming from over here, django.contrib.auth.model user. So that means in order to run this application I have to create user, and Django will provide a default model by the name called user. So whatever user I will register, that user name I should mention right over here in this particular field. Okay, the date when the product was been created and the last time when the product will be updated, that date is mentioned over here. So that's how the product table has been created. But wait, this table or this class cannot create the table in database directly. For that reason we have to perform couple of steps which I will show you right now. So as you can see over here, there is a folder called migration. Now when you will be creating this app, by default the migration would be there, the folder migration would be there, but this file which I have created over here shouldn't be there. So let me remove this particular file. As I was testing, the file got generated, but when you will be creating for the first time, there won't be any file by the name called 0001. Okay, so make sure as you expand the migration folder, you will find that no such file apart from __ in it, which is responsible for considering this migration as a package. So this is how the thing would look like. And of course in my view I have to write few programs, few functions which will be responsible for storing data and accessing data from the table. I will show you even that also, don't worry. And here I have got urls.py for performing navigation, right? I know these things are pretty lengthy stuff, and this video would take a little bit of more time. Now after creating this particular product, as I have said that you have to register the product in the settings.py, which we already saw that the settings.py already been registered. The same fashion in the project urls.py you also need to mention how do you access the app with the help of include. So include function is actually going to include an app for a given project. So that means the product which I have created in the form of a Django app should be connected with the project with the help of include function. And over here, if I have to access the app product, I will be starting with the API slash. This is a term which I have chosen. You can choose any term of your choice. So when you will write API, and then it will try to access the product. The product is a package over here, and inside that there's a file called models.py, and inside this models.py there are three paths that are related. Right now I will work first with the register product so that I can register a product, and the product that got registered inside the table, I want to get the data back from the table. For that I will be using list underscore product. So these are the two routes I will be showing in this video only. Along with that, how the registration of the product takes place, that functionality is written within the file called views. Right over here inside that I have a function called product register. I can open this file. So this is the function which is responsible for storing data in the table, and similarly this is the function that is responsible for getting data from the table. So these two functions we are going to operate in this video only. And look over here, since I'm going to insert the data with the help of REST API, that's the reason the decorator, well, this is called decorator app underscore view, and for storing data we use the HTTP method type called post, and for getting data we have to use the method type called get. So these two methods will be used in this particular video right now. So what I need to do first, well, I have to create this models I have to create as a database table. But how do I do that? For this reason, Django has provided two special commands. Let me fire this command one by one. But before I fire the command, I want to show you again. Inside the migration, I don't have any other file by the name called 0001, which will be created once I fire the command. So what is the command? Python manage.py makemigrations. As I hit the enter, a new file will be created. Well, will the file be created? I'm not sure the file will be created or not, but yes, of course, if you try to run the program, you would encounter an error. Let me show you that, and why the error will come, that also you will get to know. Python manage.py run server. This is going to start the Django development server if the program is bug free. I hit the enter, and there is some issue. Of course there is an issue. The issue is, which I was saying, look over here, the last line. It is saying that the database crm underscore db does not exist. Right, I said that there is a file called .env inside which I have configured my database name, but inside my Postgres I don't have any database by the name called crmdb, and because of that reason I'm getting the error. So what I need to do, first I have to create the database. So right click over here, come to new, click on the database and create the database by the name called crm underscore db, because that's the database name I have chosen. And this is the owner, Postgres. That's which, like, this is the user you can think about. So this database will be handled by this user. Okay, so I click on the save button and the database gets created over here. So let me reload the page, refresh it, and over here see crmdb. But right now this database does not hold any table. I can show you even that also. Come to the schema part. Over here you have an option called table. As I try to click over here, see it is pointing downward, but actually there is no table present. So now I will be firing the command once again. So let me come over here, let me stop the server, and let me clear the screen so that you can see the screen properly, and let me rerun the code once again. This time that error that the database was not found shouldn't come, and it didn't come because we have already got the database. Now see over here is showing that you need to apply migrations. Migration means you need to fire the table command, the command that would actually create the table over here. And right now as you can see, as I said, it has got no table. If you want, you can refresh it, but see there is no table present. So the first thing first, what I need to do is that first I have to fire the command called makemigrations. Now what will happen by this particular command? Well, this command would create a new file which is compatible with this particular class, and the file that will be created will be responsible for creating table inside your database. So let me show you that. So Python manage.py, then comes makemigrations. Okay, as I hit the enter, inside the migration folder a new file will be created by the name called 0001. Look over here, see I created a model product. See over here 0001 underscore initial.py. file got created. That this particular file is actually will be responsible for creating the table. So let me show you this particular file. See over here, this is the entire code that got generated automatically by entering this particular command. And what this file is all about, it is responsible for creating the model. See over here, you have a class. This is the class called migration, and this particular class would give a call to the method called create model. So this particular file is responsible for creating a table based on the model that I mentioned over here. So all the attribute which I have mentioned, that is right over here. As I said that this particular class category would be responsible for creating a drop down. If you come over here, you will be seeing that this is the list that got generated. Well, this is a list actually, but inside the list you have got a tuples. Okay, so this is what will be generating the drop down. So this file is been responsible for creating the model, but for that reason you have to fire one more command. Now when you fire this particular command, python manage.py migrate, not only the product table will be registered, but at the same time few other tables that are present by default in Django, which are responsible for performing a wide range of functionalities, those tables rather, would also get installed. I hit the enter, it will show you the series of all the tables that will be generated. See, these are the list of tables that got generated, which are essential for running Django. And along with that, the table which I have created just now, that is called product. See, product also got generated. Got it? So let's come to my database, and now let's refresh it once, and now if you see, the list of all the tables which Django needs by default have got generated, apart from the last table, that is product underscore product. The way this name has been given is, the first is the product is app name, because my Django app has got an app name called product. So the product name is, the app is the product name, at the same time my table name is also called product. So that's the reason it is showing product hyphen product. The first product refers to the app name, and the second product refers to the table name. Okay, and I said over here that in this particular model there is one attribute called users. So that means I have to give one user, I need to create one user. But did I create any user right now? The answer is no, and for that reason you won't be able to see any user right over here. So if I go and if I say view all rows, you will find no record present over here, because a user is not created. So how do I create a user? For that reason you have got one more command, with the help of which you will be able to create the user. So if you create the user, then only you will be able to register the product, because over here I also need to mention the user name for the particular product to be registered. So for that reason what I will do is that I'm going to create one user by the name, and here is the command python manage.py create super user, create super user, and I hit the enter. It will ask me enter the user name. So I'm going for the username called admin, email address admin@gmail.com, password blah 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 and blah. The user got created successfully. Now come to the table and reload the tab. As I do that, look over here, the username admin got created, the email got created, and this is the password which I've given. Is this the password? Well, the password got encrypted. The beauty of Django is that it will maintain the privacy. It will be maintaining the like the data or encryption, so that the password is not revealed to anyone. So the password which I've given was something else, but it got encrypted. Okay, and this particular user is having an ID called 1. So that means when you create a user, every user is going to have one ID, and that ID will determine what is the, like, how many users are there along with the specific user. So now I will be able to create the model. I mean, sorry, not model. I will be able to create the product. So let's come to the application now, and it's not started yet. So let me start the application. The python manage.py run server, and I hit the enter, and the application started. Okay, the application has started. So now what I will do is that I will be able to register my product. So let's come to the product table, and if I reload the tab by pressing this view all row, there is no record inserted over here. See, nothing is there right now. The entire table is blank. These are all the attributes which you are seeing based on the model which I have created right over here. So the question is, how do I insert the data? I told you there are two different ways by which data insertion can be taking place. One is by the browser, and the other one is by DRF, Django REST framework. So I am choosing the DRF way for data insertion, and for that reason I will be using Postman. So here is a Postman. The Postman will be responsible for inserting an object in the form of JSON. So what will be the URL? The URL will be, let's come to the project URL. The first URL is a project URL that is called API slash, and then comes to the product URL, and then register underscore product. So the entire URL would be http colon localhost 8000 slash API, that is coming from the project, and register hyphen underscore product, that is coming from the app slash. And once I hit the enter, I will be passing the data to this particular function. So this is responsible for taking data in the form of JSON. I am showing you the code, but in this video I will not explain this particular thing, otherwise the video will become more lengthy. Just to give you an understanding that the data is coming in the form of JSON, and API underscore view is responsible for accessing the JSON data which is coming from the Django REST framework, as you can see right over here. So from the Django REST framework, the data is responsible to be inserted, and that is coming in the form of JSON. So let me fire this Postman, and these are the data which I am going to pass according to my model. If I open the model, you will find these attributes are all there. So let me show you. The first is the product name, then comes description, then comes price, then come brand, followed by category, and remember the category will be coming from the list that is provided over here, and I'm going to insert data of this particular category, home. That's the reason I wrote home. And then the user, my username is admin, plus the stock is 5. The date, these two dates will be generated automatically. You don't have to give any value for this because it's an auto generated date. Okay, so this object I'm going to pass, and that object will be forwarded to this particular method, and this is a view level because Django comes up with two different type of view. One is called class based view, and the one is function based view. Currently you are seeing function based view. In the upcoming days I will also work on the class based view. And as you can see over here, these are the attributes. So name, description, price, brand, category, stock, and user, all the attributes are mapping exactly like this. So let's fire this command and let's see what happens. As I click on this, the data insertion should take place successfully, and see the product registered successfully. So inside the product table, this particular product got registered. So let's come to my Postgres and reload the tab, and as I do that, bingo, the data has been registered successfully over here. So that means my API endpoint is working perfectly fine. So this API was responsible for storing data inside the table, right? And now what if I want to fetch the data? For that reason I've got one more route. So let's come to my project, that is API slash, let's come to the product, that is list underscore product, which will take me to this particular function, that is a get product, and this function is responsible for extracting data from the model, from the table. And over here I have gone for a serializer. As I said, we can use the serializer. See over here in this app, I have created one file called serializer. In the diagram initially I showed you that you can create these files. Don't worry, in the upcoming videos I will be talking about all these things because it's already becoming very long video. So now what I will just do is that I will just fire this endpoint just to see whether I can collect the data from the table or not, which is shown in the Postgres. Very nice, but I want to see in the Postman in the form of API. So let's click on this, and here comes the data. Look, the product has been shown very properly, as you can see in the Postgres. So as you can see over here, the ID is 1. Let me show you like this. ID is 1, the name is AC, description, price, brand, and over here see the username admin. Remember the admin user over here, the admin user was having the admin user. Let me show you the admin user also. The admin user was having the ID 1. That one got stored inside the product. Okay, so product is now having this user as 1. This 1 means it's admin, and that is what you can see over here. The user is admin been shown over here, and I said that the created date will come automatically. That's what you are seeing right now. So it's been means the year is 2025 and it's the month of February. That's what you are seeing right now, and the time is 11. Okay, that's what has been displayed over here. So that means at the end what we saw is that both the endpoints, both the APIs are working very smooth. The first API was responsible for storing the data in the table, and the second API was responsible for collecting data from the table and to show you in the Postman. Okay, so from this particular video you learned the detail about what app is all about, what are the different files that app comes up with, and how these files are going to work in our real life application. But in coming days you are going to work more on this, and I will be showing you how these things are going to work. And in fact I will be explaining this entire piece of code snippet, that how exactly the data got registered right over here. Okay, so that's all from this video presentation. See you soon. Bye bye.